mail today. This is my 40 watt Chinese cheap laser, though it's not your typical Chinese laser, and I'll show you the differences when I get this unboxed. First big difference that I am very happy with is the fact that instead of a cardboard box, it came in a wooden crate that the tops were all screwed down, so I have to go in and unscrew all of that. I will come back in a minute after I show you, the rest of the workshop, and then we will go, I will undo it and then start the video back up, and then we can go from there. So I'm going to give you a little tour of my indoor workshop here. So this is my indoor workshop. This is my various and sundry crafts or cloth crafts that I have. Then my fish tank that I need to fill up with water. I fill it up with about 5 to 10 gallons of water every week due to evaporation. Some of my paints for my figure painting. Then my electronics bookshelf. In the foreground you have my CNC that I'm building. I had to tear it apart because I got the stepper motors that I got had 6 wires as opposed to the typical 4, and I couldn't figure out how to wire them correctly. Now that I've got the proper instructions, that's something to be finished. But I use this table for everything from sewing to pretty much anything that I need a bigger space. Then my little workbench for holding my video monitor, for watching TV while I'm up here, YouTube, that sort of thing. Then scrolling along slowly, you have my main work center, which I do my painting and my model building, as well as my 3D finishing. As you see on the floor, that's a first order TIE fighter helmet, and then some little tentacles that I'm printing out for a friend. Lots of lighting in here. I don't have it all on. Then we move along to my electronics workstation. That's a little jumbled up right now with all the stuff that I'm doing with the 3D printing and modeling. Here's my first modified printer. It's a Wanhao Duplicator i2. So far, I've mixed feelings about this printer. It prints really good, but there's some challenges that I've had to deal with the printer, with getting things to stick and certain filaments not working as well as I thought they would. So I'm sticking to either PLA with this or ABS. I prefer ABS, mainly because it's easier to finish and everything like that. Then moving along, we have my heavily modified DaVinci 1.0A with Repeater flashed on it. So this is essentially a Repeater server, a Repeater machine that I do a lot of my printing on. As you see, his name is Jarvis. Then I have my 3D print server. This is just a little netbook that I use to manage my prints between the Wanhao and the DaVinci. Then my project workboard and some other things like that. Continuing on, the entranceway, a nice little blimp or airship that somebody sent me from work when they found out I did steampunk. Moving along, here's some more storage area. So that is my various sundry parts closet area, where I store some of the parts that I use for my steampunk creation. And then again, the case that showed up on my doorstep today for the laser printer, or the laser cutter. Okay, so I am back again, and let me move over here. I'll take you around the workshop a little more. There's my DaVinci, my workspace with my tentacles that I'm printing out, some lights, and let me turn on this light here so you can actually see a little better. Whoops, a little too fast. So let's walk back over here. Okay. So back over to the laser. So this is my workstation that I'm going to have the laser set up as, or laser set up at. The reason why I put it here, a couple of reasons. One is so I can open up the window when I am cutting and vent the fumes out, especially with the blower I'm going to get for the upgrade. So let's go through what exactly, again, like I said, why I chose this printer. Like I said, mainly it was for some of the upgrades that were already there in the printer itself, with the digital readout, the emergency stop button, switch machine, the temperature display for the actual water temperature for the cooling unit for the laser that's back here, and then the digital readout for the percentage of power. I really would I do prefer that over the typical knob that is part of the base unit that a lot of people have. That way there's no guess as to what level of power I have. It's all here on the digital readout. Again, I've got the test switch, my plus or minus 10%, my plus or minus 1%, and my plus or minus 0.1% for the laser power on here. So this is, you know, this is actual, I'm able to set relatively low power for the laser. Typical case, as it were, that I've seen from all the other videos that are out there for these Chinese lasers. It's not a huge thing, but it's big enough for me to be able to play with. One of the differences also is these are on casters, which is a little different than the typical Chinese. These are usually actually on little foot areas, so this is nice, so in case I need to move something to get behind or twist it around to get to the laser, that sort of stuff. So let me open it up. And some immediate things that I noticed that I actually do like a lot better than the typical Chinese cheap laser. The first being this, which is the door holder that's already there. You've got the crappy squirrel fan that comes with every Chinese laser. This I'm actually going to end up ordering a replacement fan, and I'll do a video on doing the replacement fan and the pieces for that at a later date. But this is not going to be used to do the venting. It's just like I said, a cheap Chinese squirrel fan that I'm just going to end up throwing away. So next thing is take out the tool bag, and this should have in it my software and the dongle, and I'll get that out in a minute. Yes, this is a Moshi Draw board. I've already looked into at a later date, not right now. I didn't want to spend the money for it, upgrading with a $99 Lasersaurus board for this, so I don't have to use the dongle, and then I can use various and the sundry other software to do my cutting for me. But for right now, it will suffice. A little piece to the crappy fan. A pretty powerful little power head pump for the cooling. I think I'm going to use this for a while and see how it ends up. If not, I've got leftover pumps from my saltwater fish tank, or I can just go out and buy a new one. But this looks pretty sufficient for right now. I don't need to worry about it. The only problem is I've read that there's a grounding problem, but since I know about that already, I'm going to run a grounding wire from the back of the laser to the grounding post on the power outlet. Standard USB, so that's good. Then we've got, of course, the gantry and the hose. Now, here comes the very first or one of the very first. The other thing that I like about, let me get to this first. The other thing, I don't know if you can see that very well, but there is a LED strip in the back, so I don't have to worry about adding lights to the laser to be able to light up the cutting area. So a couple of nice things, like I said, that I ended up not spending any more than anybody else does on these things. It was about $350. But again, this is a Chinese laser with all of the modifications that need to be done on that. So the first modification is going to be this particular fume extractor here. I'm going to probably cut off back in the back to give me this whole area that you see right here for the cutting surface. I'm going to take out this inexpensive little clamp that everybody talks about and complains about. This bed's going to go away, probably is another one of the first modifications that I'm going to do. The other thing that I have coming is I have a air assist nozzle that I ordered with a laser pointer to replace this head here on the laser. So this will be replaced when that gets in from China. That's on its way, but it's on the proverbial slow boat from China, so it might take a while. And that's pretty much it. So I should be able to get a bigger cutting area by removing this or taking this fume extractor down. I'm going to replace the squirrel fan with a 12-volt marine air exchange unit that I'm getting from Amazon. It's going to be about 16 bucks, and then I'm going to vent it out the back in the screen. For the most part, looking at this, other than the typical cleanup from packaging that you need to do, doesn't look like anything's damaged. Looks like it got here in one piece. Real quick before I leave you, just to show you what was in the content of the tool bag, which is not much. The dongle that you must not lose, but again, this is gonna, when I get the laser saw board, I'm going to replace that in here, so this won't be used anymore. But for right now, this is the dongle key for the software to let me print and recognize the laser. I might take this and put a USB hub inside the laser itself, and then leave that inside the laser. Then we've got a box of Chinese silicone adhesive. This is to use on the blower here itself, which, like I said, I'm not going to use this, so that will probably just go in my toolbox as something to have for use. Then we've got some looks like double-sided sticky tape for attaching, again, this fan, and then the typical software on a home burnt DVD. Already aware of that, so I've got to make sure that I look at this and make sure that it's not got any malware on it. I might as well go ahead and show you the back of the laser. Of course, this is the cheap venting tube. This will be replaced as well. Taking this off so I can turn this bad boy around. So we turn it around here a little bit. I'm not going to take the actual laser part out because that requires a screw, I believe, to get out, which is right there. But here's the back of it. We've got our cooling tube for the laser itself, the grounding point that I'm definitely going to use a ground between that and the outlet. Then we've got two 110 outlets, one for the fan, and then the other one is for the pump so that it can be controlled by the machine here. And then your typical 110. Just to go inside again, just to give you an idea, we've got the typical orange plastic. Again, this really doesn't do anything. The acrylic color doesn't make a difference with this particular laser, so it's mainly for just fancy show. So what I've got to do is to get the paper off of this, is I've got to take this acrylic off the case itself and then redo it. All in all, though, I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing on this so far. Not a huge build area, but I wasn't expecting a huge build area. It will be enough for me to do what I need to do, which is good. Possible other upgrades that I will eventually do as I get the money for it is to maybe have an automatic bed on here as opposed to a manual height bed, so I could touch a button and raise and lower that. Definitely going to do the air assist. Everybody that I know of that gets these always adds the air assist. It helps with the laser and the cutting, prevents some of the flame outs, that sort of stuff. So I'm definitely going to add that, and that's relatively cheap. Like I said, I think that the new head with the air assist, metal wise, was or metal one was like $30, but you can find on Thingiverse a 3D one that you can print out. And then I'll put just a regular old air pump into the electronics area of the box. Next time I do the video, we'll open up the laser tube and we'll open up the electronics and look inside. Thanks, and again, go out there and make something.